Hello everyone, welcome to first video by Vertex. So Club Penguin was my favorite childhood game, and I've always wondered how it would have looked in three-dimensional space. So that's why for this video I've decided to take one of the most popular mini games, Kart Surfer, and make it into 3D. So for this I will be using Unity, which is a free engine where you can make 3D and 2D games, and I will be using Blender to make some of the models. So firstly, before I started, I replayed Kart Surfer and saw what its main points are, like biggest development, let's say challenges are. Uh, it was pretty obvious that the track, we had to generate the track. I mean, I wanted to generate the track randomly, so maybe the length, the amount of turns, I wanted it to be generated randomly. So that was the first thing. And the second thing, which I thought would be the hardest part, is actually moving the player around those tracks. Now, what most of the, like, let's say, endless runners or just runners in general, runner games do, they don't move the player, but the player stays in place, but the whole platforms come to him, which gives kind of an illusion. This wouldn't have worked in here, or at least wouldn't have been easy to realize. That's why I had to think of a different way. So firstly, when I started, I grabbed a penguin model from a website I can't remember the name of. It was basically the model from Club Penguin's game day. I'm pretty sure you can't use these models for commercial use, that's why I am not. So I downloaded that and I made the tracks in Blender, and I also made the cart in Blender. So after I did that, I first tried to randomly generate the tracks. So how I did it was I made the origin of the tracks their starting point, and where the tracks ended, I made it that a spawn point, meaning that new tracks would generate from where they ended. So this was quite easy to make. I just had to change its origin by parenting it to the empty game object, and I added another empty game object to it and attached it to the end and called it the spawn point. So I wrote a script that would generate these tracks and spawn them on the last spawn point. So for this to work, first I just had to have one track in the scene, and based on top of that, the randomly generated track would happen. I tried some new things, but I faced some problems. Mainly, it was the tracks intersecting with each other. I guess this could have been fixed if the tracks got deleted as the time went on, but I didn't do that as I didn't find it necessary. So what I had was, I guess the problem here was the turns were predictable, so if the turn was right, next one would be left, which makes sense, but from game perspective, I guess this isn't that good, but it wasn't really that much of a problem for me. Also, I made the tracks work. Basically, I created a while script, and the tracks wouldn't stop generating until there were a certain amount of turns, like curved tracks. So if I said I want to have 8 curved tracks in this tunnel, it wouldn't stop generating until it gave me 8 curved tracks. So after I got randomly generated tunnel working, let's say, I went on to the movement. So I really tried a lot of ways. First I thought maybe a navigation mesh would work, but that failed instantly. Then I tried to move the object through script by using move towards function, Unity's built-in function. That also failed. So I looked up on YouTube how to move an object along a path, and I found Sebastian Lake's video on curved paths. There he provides a free tool for everyone to use, where you can basically set points, and it would generate a Bezier curve, a track, and you can move your object along it. Now, after reading its documentation, it was pretty easy to understand. I was able to randomly generate this curve by basically putting objects. I used spheres to visualize it, and I kind of disabled its mesh. So you put spheres, and the track basically gets connected to the spheres. So in code this works like you create a list, and in start function you can basically get all the spheres. If you have to attach the tag to them, you can get all the spheres, and then you run the tool's built-in function, and it basically generates it for you. It was pretty easy. So after I had done that, I wanted to get away from programming a bit and focus on the visual aspect of it. And I tried basically what I did for the ground and for the ceiling was create two very large cubes, and that worked fine. That worked flawlessly actually. And if you have played the original Card Surfer, you can see, well, you can't see the front of the tunnel. There's like a black thing in front of it. For that, I used Unity's built-in fog system, and I set the color to black, and that was also easily attained. So after I had done that, I wanted to move to animations. Now I didn't copy all of the animations because I didn't think it wasn't like what I was trying to achieve. I was mostly trying to get the most important core mechanics down, but I still did get a few animations in. Now I'm a horrible animator, so that's why I didn't really enjoy this process, you can say. I did the right turn, left turn. You can backflip, and you can also get up on your cart, and you can also go right and go left. I didn't add things like doing handstands, taking the cart and running, as they would have taken extra time, and I wouldn't have really learned anything from them. And for going right and left, I used blend trees to make it kind of smooth. So if you're pressing right, it will go to the right over like some time. So yeah, I learned quite a bit about blend trees from this. After I did that, I wanted to move on to actually detecting the turns. So if you were turning right, and if, let's say, if you weren't holding right, you would crash, or if you were holding left, you would crash. Now I thought this would be easy. I would just have to add a collider on these curved tracks and just check from script, and it would be really easy. But soon I realized it wasn't, because well, it did detect a curve, but it was hard to see whether I should be whether I should be tilting to the left or to the right. So it was hard to detect whether the track was leading me to the left or to the right. To solve this problem, I used raycasts. So I took two raycasts, and I casted them diagonally, like 45 degrees from the player to the walls. You can probably see the visuals on in the video right now. And basically, if I was turning right, uh, the right raycast wouldn't hit right. It would, the length of it wouldn't actually reach the wall. So with this method, I could actually find whether I was turning right or whether I had to turn left. So basically, if my left side raycast was not hitting, this meant that I'm turning left. Yeah, after that, I also added a couple of small attention to detail. I added those kind of frames. I used Unity primitives, cubes, to create that kind of walls thing. It looked pretty cool. I also, in Krita, I created it looks really bad because of my handwriting, I guess. The kind of sign where it shows you are going to turn right. So I added that. I also added, if you, like in the original minigame, if you hold the right right mouse, not mouse button, but right arrow key for too long, you will flip, and same for the left key. If you hold it for too long, you're going to flip. I added that, and I wanted to add scores, but again, the score wouldn't really affect anything, since it's not like actual Club Penguin game where their score mattered because you would have earned coins. Here it really doesn't matter, and I wouldn't have learned anything. I've created score systems many times before. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I also added some post-processing effects, and at the end of the tunnel, I added a white white plane with emissive material on it, so it would look like the end of the tunnel in the original mini game. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I covered all the topics what I did. The project, you can download it. Um, in the description below, I will upload it probably to Google Drive, as I'm not really familiar with GitHub. And I will also put a link to the sources I used, like the penguin model and Sebastian Lake's video. Um, so yeah, I mean, tell me if you want me to do something else, or if you want me to work on this more. Right now this has like very bad animations. I don't really have a good like artistic eye. Models look bad. I didn't really focus on them. I can't really model that well. So yeah, tell me in the comments what you want me to do next.